The Buffalo Bills just robbed the NFL. They finally bring in a boundary wide receiver that has serious implications for not only Keon Coleman's career with Buffalo, but also the future of this team for the rest of the season. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bills Digest. Josh Schreiber here, and we have got breaking news for you right here on Bills Digest. Just minutes ago, the Buffalo Bills made a move that legitimately will change the scope of the offense from now until the end of the season. And I'm not just saying this. This is not just a practice squad guy. This is a guy who has legitimately established himself in the NFL that they have brought on. He has 60 plus touchdowns in his career, 6 1,000-yard seasons, and he is signing with the Buffalo Bills today. And we've got you covered right here for Bills Digest. Before I tell you everything you need to know about this wide receiver and what he means to this Bills squad, you guys have been killing it with the subscribers. We're up to over 1,573 subscribers. We are inching ever so closely to our goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I bet you we're one of the first people to get this piece of news out to you. So big time news for the Buffalo Bills. Excited to cover it. And you know what? I'll stop the yap and let's get right into it. Well, as many of you guys who are in the weeds on the Buffalo Bills may know, and for those of you that don't know, Brandin Cooks was just released by the New Orleans Saints this past week, and he did clear waivers, making him a free agent. Now, a lot of Bills fans have been clamoring for a wide receiver that can be a boundary receiver, can be a deep threat, and they did sign Mecole Hardman to the practice squad. They elevated him, and he immediately made the offense a lot smoother against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He did get injured in that game and missed the Texans game, and it was back to square one for the Bills offense. They looked absolutely dreadful. They only scored 19 points in the game, and 7 of them came on a Ray Davis kick return, so that had nothing to do with the offense to begin with. So bringing in a guy like Brandin Cooks, a lot of Bills fans were really excited by the idea of bringing in a guy who has a history, who has a really good resume of going to new teams and being really, really successful, being a really good deep threat, and overall scoring touchdowns. And at the end of the day, it's football. That's the main goal of things. So immediately there were reports out there that those in league circles have been speculating that Brandin Cooks hoped to land with the Broncos, Rams, or Bills. That same article crossed Denver off the list, saying that Denver was not in the hunt for Brandin Cooks, basically leaving it down to either the Rams, who Brandin Cooks had previously played with, or the Buffalo Bills. And that led fans to start saying, should the Bills sign a guy like Brandin Cooks? And I'll be honest, when I first saw the report that Brandin Cooks was going to be a free agent, I was skeptical. He's 32 years old. He was not playing very much on a Saints team that obviously is not very good, although they did have 2 really good receivers on that team that they ultimately traded Rashid Shaheed over to Seattle. A lot of Bills fans, I know, we wanted Rashid Shaheed to ourselves in Buffalo, and then Chris Olave, who is still in New Orleans and likely will be getting a long-term extension done there. But Brandin Cooks was not getting a whole lot of run. Part of that just because they had terrible quarterback play, yada, yada, yada. Brandin Cooks actually signed away his opportunity to get $2 million in guaranteed money from the New Orleans Saints in order to be able to clear waivers quicker. So Brandin Cooks did this, and you had to think that there was going to be something in it for him, and clearly there was. It was announced just minutes ago, and here's the news that you all have been waiting for. The Buffalo Bills are signing Brandin Cooks to the active roster immediately. He very well could be active against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday afternoon. So a big time addition to this team, and really, really exciting to see that they are getting a veteran wide receiver who is a little bit comparable to Emmanuel Sanders back when they made the move to bring him in a couple of years ago as just a depth wide receiver. Now, Emmanuel Sanders, the comparison here is that Emmanuel Sanders was also near the end of his career. He was also a really good deep threat that had played with some really impressive quarterbacks. And Brandin Cooks is very similar. He's a deep threat that's played with very impressive quarterbacks. The difference is Brandin Cooks is actually, he has a better resume than Emmanuel Sanders. And we'll pull that up now. Here is the resume of Brandin Cooks, and it is gaudy. 6 different 1,000-yard seasons, multiple other, really solid seasons. Almost 10,000 yards in his career, a real opportunity to eclipse that 10,000-yard mark towards the end of the season with Buffalo. Would most likely need, another year or another few games into next year, unless he absolutely goes bonkers with the Bills. But you see that all of those different teams, the Saints, then the Patriots, then the Rams, then Houston, then Dallas, then back to the Saints, he has played under many different coaches and has been successful everywhere he has been. 60 touchdowns for a guy they call the Archer, Brandin Cooks. He's a former first-round pick, absolute speed demon, and at 32 years old, I do think he still has something left in the tank. So a lot of you guys in the comments, maybe you'll say, this guy doesn't move the needle for us. He's 32 years old. Well, think about it this way. He's just last year with the Dallas Cowboys, he was able to put up some decent numbers. Didn't break any records, but keep in mind this was a Dallas Cowboys team without Dak Prescott. When he had Dak, he scored 8 touchdowns and nearly 700 yards. So still a very competitive season and much better than what the Bills have right now. So overall, Bills fans, you have every right to be excited for this signing because Brandin Cooks is a guy that can come in, mentor the younger guys, including Keon Coleman, and immediately make an impact to this offense. A guy that knows where to be in certain zone situations. He knows how to spread the field. He can get downfield and force the defenses to respect the deep ball, and that is all they really need. We saw what a guy like Mecole Hardman can do, and even at this point in his career, Brandin Cooks is leaps and bounds better than Mecole Hardman. So I don't want Bills fans to, kind of sweep this under the rug and say, this isn't going to move the needle. I think there is a reason to be excited right now. And most importantly, Josh Allen finally gets another receiver that he can trust. We've seen it with Gabe Davis, how he's targeted him a lot. And Brandin Cooks, honestly, I believe is much better than Gabe Davis, even at this point in his career. Certainly different players, but also boundary receivers. I would rather see Brandin Cooks out there over Gabe Davis, over Mecole Hardman, over Keon Coleman. I want to see him playing until he proves that he can't play anymore. So I'm really excited. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this Brandin Cooks signing, and do you think that this could help the Bills? I certainly do. Leave a like, subscribe, and nobody has it better than us here at Bills Digest, getting this out to you just minutes after the signing takes place. We'll see you next time here on Bills Digest.